In half a century of trying to help prevent wars, there's one question that never leaves me. How do we deal with extreme violence without using force in return? When you're faced with brutality, whether it's a child facing a bully in the playground, or domestic violence, or on the streets of Syria today facing tanks and shrapnel, what's the most effective thing to do? Fight back? Give in? Use more force? This question, how do I deal with the bully without becoming a thug in return, has been with me ever since I was a child. I remember I was about 13, glued to a grainy black and white television in my parents' living room as Soviet tanks rolled into Budapest. And kids not much older than me were throwing themselves at the tanks and getting mown down. And I rushed upstairs and started packing my suitcase, and my mother came out and said, "What on earth are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to Budapest." And she said, "What on earth for?" And I said, "Kids are getting killed, there's something terrible happening." And she said, "Don't be so silly." And I started to cry. And she got it. She said, "Okay, I see it's serious. You're much too young to help. You need training. I'll help you, but just unpack your suitcase." And so I got some training and went and worked in Africa during most of my 20s. But I realized that what I really needed to know I couldn't get from training courses. I wanted to understand how violence, how oppression works. And what I've discovered since is this. Bullies use violence in 3 ways. They use political violence to intimidate, physical violence to terrorize, and mental or emotional violence to undermine. And only very rarely, in very few cases, does it work to use more violence. Nelson Mandela went to jail believing in violence. And 27 years later, he and his colleagues had slowly and carefully honed the skills, the incredible skills that they needed to turn one of the most vicious governments the world has known into a democracy. And they did it in a total devotion to non-violence. They realized that using force against force doesn't work. So what does work? Over time,